3, 2, 1, and we're live. I think it's telling me. Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I have Syren Wynd with me. This is going to be an amazing show. We'll play the intro and get started. And the intro.
You're muted.
Okay. That's
okay.
I don't know why.
Oh, you're muted again. Rob, you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
It's doing this. Hey guys, welcome back to another show. This is episode number 2100, and I have with me Syren Wynd, a multidimensional frequency transformer, light code holographer, ancient tech bridge, anchor, and author. Syren works with galactic frequencies, tones, geometrics, holographics, light codes, and languages to upgrade DNA, activate cellular memory, and restore divine nature of cosmic beings of light. In this episode, we'll talk about how the galactic frequencies and light codes transform the body and soul, the role of tones, geometrics, holographics in the healing and awakening, Syren's work as a bridge and anchor for high-frequency ancient technologies, and live insights on DNA activation, clearing, and planetary grid work. And it was just a little bit about my I read your bio already. Yeah, but Syren, thanks so much for coming on for the first time. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for the invitation. How are you?
Good. And it's Mercury retrograde. I think that's why things are a little bit wonky, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of really fascinating, powerful alignments right now.
Yeah, my friend messaged me today. She said, you shouldn't do any podcasts today. And I said, well, it's kind of too late for that. But I mean, you know, do you believe in that? Do you believe things go kind of weird during Mercury retrograde?
Well, you know what's interesting about Mercury retrograde for me is I was born on a retrograde of Mercury, and I actually perceive Mercury as a purifier. So when it's going retrograde, I feel it's actually purifying because it's spinning through all the distortion. And sometimes it does come through where it, gets a little undoing of the static, and it causes disruption, but it's usually something that's needing to get cleaned out.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, you know. My friend was sending me all these rules for today. She said there's some of this stuff that for me not to do, and she said like everything kind of comes apparent in this energy, right? Like is that true?
Well, I actually feel like everything's coming to be witnessed in general. Anything that needs to come clear in general is coming seen to dissolve away, to come into right order. And that's like massively magnified on all fronts with all energies, all lineups, all different planetary lineups. So it sometimes appears prominent as disruptions or other things, but it just needs to come out, to come clear, so we can reset and rebuild right now. And there's a lot of different energies coming to right order.
Yeah. Well, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. How did this all start for you?
Well, it's interesting because when I was really small, I could say an infant, I could see colors and sounds and shapes. Like when I would hear noises or sounds, when I would make sounds, when I would, sound before I had words, I could see the shape and the color, and then feel the tone. If I was making a different tone, a different way, I could see the shape change. So I was fascinated with, not having a description of the whys per se at that time, but I was fascinated with what I was watching, and I would explore through art very, very young for hours and hours a day, through geometry, through color, through layers and layers, different media, layering different media, and then I would rinse it away, and then I'd relayer it. And I was fascinated how the energy was changing but I was also singing, and I was humming while I was making art, and I could feel that was going in the art. And so what I was discovering, you could say remembering, but really knowing and watching in the physical as, a small child right away, and wasn't really, explaining it to anyone around me, because I felt like they couldn't see what I was seeing. I would see people talk, I'd hear them talk, but I would see what was going on telepathically with their thoughts. I would see the shapes of those, and I could hear what they were actually thinking, but they would say something different. So they would say something different than what they were thinking based off of what I was seeing with the energy. And I was just observing, because I could feel like that was something, like not to bring up at the time, but it was always just really fascinating to me, the different telepathic things I was picking up on, sensing, knowing, even like I would see, I would call them at the time symbols, but I would see symbols in the light. And had a Catholic grade school I was in for a while, and I would see symbols in Mary's halo, and I was recognizing that right away as part of the light, that was, or is. And I would draw that in the workbook, and it'd be like a cartoon workbook. I would draw that in the halo, and the nuns were asking me what I was doing. They were asking me what I was doing, but that's how I was seeing things. So yeah, that began early.
Wow. You went to Catholic school then, I guess?
Up until seventh grade, I think it was sixth or seventh grade. Yeah, it was interesting because I could feel the energy and the stories, or the courses, I guess you would say. I could feel the energy they were saying about what happened at those times, with these different, wise men, and this, this, that, and the other thing. But I didn't feel any energy in the stories, so I didn't believe it. There was aspects that had some truth to it, but I could always sense what actually was, or how it was different, like it was kind of right. It was kind of along the lines, but it didn't really happen that way, or that's not really that person's name, or how it was being referenced, like somehow it got confused. So yeah, that was something that was really interesting for me as a child, being in a religion class, but feeling that it wasn't entirely quite right.
Yeah. Someone asked if you were at the conference. Yes, she was at the conference, Julia. She was. You were a vendor at the conference. Did you enjoy the conference and everything? Real quick, I guess that's a side note, but did you like have a fun time and stuff?
Yeah, I really enjoyed being able to meet everyone. Because we've been all working and weaving in all these different places for so long, and then we got to all, for the most part, connect at the conference. Even though I know there was a lot of different things going on, it was still nice to have everyone all in one place.
Yeah, yeah, and you had a table like right inside the main hall. Like you had I think that's good because people would definitely like make their way over to your table and stuff, right? Like so like you probably got to meet a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who were your favorite speakers like you were able to see?
Well, I enjoyed so many of them. And there was a lot of topics that were discussed that I actually wasn't familiar with. So that was interesting hearing about those as well. But I liked hearing about the ancient artifacts. I enjoyed Issa's presentation. There was, I'm trying to think of names offhand. Names aren't my specialty necessarily, but I like the panels too, because the panels were like a blend of different perspectives. And I feel like when people share different viewpoints of how they've experienced things, that's how we expand even further too. So yeah, it was all interesting in its own way.
Yeah, I'm hoping Brian keeps getting to be able to do it, because I felt like it was a really, it was a really important conference, especially for like progressing the full disclosure movement forward. And when we say full disclosure, it's like disclosure of everything, not just like, UFOs or you know what I mean, like more advanced topics, you know.
Well, and like disclosure to me also is about people disclosing themselves, meaning that like as each person is discovering who they are, what their mission is, it's like being full on authentically them in a way, you know, disclosing all the layers and facets of each one of us and our unique gifts too. So it's like such a range of disclosure far beyond what can be comprehended, I feel like, is what's taken place, like the seeds that were planted even in this last experience at the conference. It felt really big.
Yeah, I do. I agree. And I just want to do as a side note for people that don't know, you have full, like you have not just full sleeves, like your legs are tattooed, your arms are like you have full body, right? Is that what it is, tattoo wise?
Yeah, it's a suit essentially.
That's amazing, though. Like how long did it take to get that done?
Probably 20 years. I mean, if we're thinking linearly, something like that.
Well, see, my thing with that was like, see, like with me, like things change. Like I'm always into something different, or sometimes I'm into something different. So, did some of your ideas change about what you wanted to have on you, or did you always kind of embody this persona of Syren Wynd, and like you already knew who you were, and that it was gonna be like that? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, I was actually drawing like code on my skin. Like it felt like it needed to be that way. So it just felt like, and that's how I perceive it, isn't necessarily like imagery. Like, I mean, some of it is imagery, like, you know, sacred geometry, etc. Or, you know, dots and lines for the cosmos. But to me, it's like layers of evolution, which is kind of like what you were saying, you know, as you're shifting and changing, right? Thoughts and your viewpoints are different. And what I was doing through those layers of evolution of myself was layering the next information, the next code. So what is perceived from a distance might look a certain way, but what it actually is layers of information, you know, geometry, codes, lines, dots, which all have different functions. Same in the way that, or much parallel in the way that light code does. You know, it's technology and has a function, and each, you know, line of code would or could or does do different things. Is the layers of, as each imagery comes together, it's doing different things together also, because it's conveying something different, even if it's visually perceived a certain way, right?
Jason in the audience wants to know: did you ever have to get cover-ups, or did you just like did it all flow pretty freely, like wrote pretty easily?
No, I didn't do anything as a cover-up. It was really like a layer, and there's layers that when it was done, it's one of those things, when you're done, you're just done and you're on to the next thing. So
I think it's fascinating. I think it's amazing. Like, you know, I always wanted to get a tattoo, but like I just don't know. I don't know what to get, you know, so what I mean? So I've always put it off. But like I really do think I'd like to get a couple, you know, before I, you know, pass away. I don't know. Like, well, I'm 45 now, so I think I'm gonna do it. If I'm gonna do it, I got to do it soon. We have a couple questions here. We have some good ones from the audience. This one's from Hey Steve. He says, "Can Syren retranslate the light language she writes?" Same question for other types, like Christy Campbell. She was at the conference. So do you do that? Do you read and translate light language and stuff like that?
Well, light language and code, like if it's something that I'm speaking, it'll have an energy, it'll have a frequency, intentionality, or a purpose. So it has a function, you know, in the way that instructions would. Like it has an energy to it. Does it translate like word for word in my perception? I don't look at it that way. But it does have an energy. It'll have a sensation that's known. It's felt. Sometimes when, hearing it, people will see, different code. They'll be activated within their own dormancies, see their own code, or spontaneously learn what their language is, because everyone has that capacity and ability. But I don't specifically seek out to translate other people's codes unless it's something that feels relevant, like for something that I am called or asked to do with it, if that makes sense.
No, that does. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Sally Forth has a question too, and I'll get back. Wait, let me see here. She says when she tripped, she said the sky turned into a honeycomb lattice when she tripped. Like, oh, I guess she means not tripped on the curb. I mean, like when she took mushrooms, she said the sky turned into a honeycomb lattice. Like, do you have an opinion on that, or do you have an idea why?
Well, I don't know, like from personal opinion of experiencing with those kinds of things, like medicine wise. But what I do know is that they open up the ability to perceive what actually is, you want to say the unseen realms. It makes seen, visible, known that the geometry is, or the code, and sometimes people see, other beings, or the, aliens, ships, etc. There's a lot of things that can be seen because you're essentially opening yourself up to something that has been closed, or not able to be perceived depending on whatever your energy is. But you also have to be careful of doing that too, opening oneself to something without, proper awareness, so you don't receive something that isn't yours, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and a couple questions for me. So, what have first awakened you to working with galactic frequencies, tones, and light codes? Like, when did you step into that role, and how did it happen?
Well, I would say very young, because I remember other realms, like other accessibility and realms always being right there, meaning like all accessible. So the way that I would perceive would be based off of, I wouldn't call it this necessarily as a child, but how I was tuning, like where, because all the different layers or dimensional planes are all right here, but how I was, tuning into that. And I would say probably, if we were to say ages, like around in my 1920s ish ages, where I started like more consciously working with energy and using my hands and feeling the energy, and allowing my intuition to guide me versus calling it something or seeking out a teacher of any kind. It was more sensing what I was already feeling and seeing, and then utilizing that along with the symbols, and they would further and more deeply come as I was opening myself, to where I just literally one day I just started speaking code and it wouldn't stop. It just was like flooding in, and I started to understand more what it was that I've been seeing the whole time.
And do you think it's coming from like an extraterrestrial source or an interdimensional source?
Well, I don't act like call for anyone. Like, I'm not a channel. I don't do any of the like channeling type, calling for other beings through me. That's not what I feel is correct for me. What I feel like it is source energy through me and my own coding anywhere I've ever been. I have specific codes that I carry, places that I've been, things that I'm to bring through, energy. And as a reference to like anchoring, and being ancient technology, we're all off planet technology. How are we tuning ourselves? Our instrument, our physical vessel is part of the instrument and the toolkit. And that is coded, we're all coded. And how are we consciously utilizing that to bring, the off-planet origination point frequencies that are our true nature through. So I perceive it in that way.
That's amazing. So it basically all boils down to like sacred geometry, kind of in a way, right? Like, because everything's like frequency and and codes. Is that correct? What did you say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're all frequency transformers. We're all, sound healers, and we're all coded. So our frequencies, our innate divine design is that it's brilliant. It's coded. It's, geometrically, innately that our divine blueprint, and bringing those frequencies through consciously is the type of reality we're creating and co-creating, depending on what awareness we have of our coding.
Yeah. And then one of the questions I had here was how exactly do galactic and frequencies and tones interact with our DNA on a cellular level? Is it because it's like kind of programmed in our DNA to like work that way?
Well, go ahead.
Sorry, I was
That's
just
okay.
going to say maybe it's something we forgot about. Like is humanity, and now we're coming back to it now that like people are awakening.
Well, and that's really like the simplicity of when you hear like it's all within you. It literally is all within you. That's the mapping system. Those are the instructions. That's your origination codes. Like, it's all within you. You don't need to go outside of yourself to go and get any of it. It's clearing out the not you stuff, or not anyone's stuff that's been accumulated from somewhere, and then activating the dormancy so we can integrate and fully embody that which we already are.
Yeah. And then what role is of the holographics and geometrics in healing and upgrading our energy field? Or what is the role of the holographics and geometrics in healing and upgrading our energy fields?
Well, there's new light structures available to us. There's pure tone energies that are arriving, that have been arriving to the planet and will continue to accelerate and assist us to upgrade our systems, our structures, our cells, our DNA, and all of us. We've never actually done this before, where we've had these high of frequencies in a physical body. So we're required to upgrade to return everything into pure state. So that role of these frequencies, these geometries, and also making the space, clearing out all of the distortionary energies, creates the space so that we can fully hold pure tone light. And so we can continue to transform, because every aspect of us is transforming. Our cells, our brain, our hair, our tissues, our bodies, the functionality, even like the perception of what like chakras are or were is different. Our DNA is changing, like the actual, composition of our bodies is changing, what we're needing to ingest or not, or how we transition into not ingesting anything, and allowing the light to be our nutrients, not taking an actual solid substance. Everything is transitioning right now, like massively.
Yeah. And do different light codes correspond to different star systems or beings? Would you say?
Yes. Well, yes, and there's different functionality. I mean, there's different codes for different purposes. In the way that, bless you, in the way that you look at, like it kind of parallelly the way you would look at a computer that has, different code to function at. It's different in sequences of instructions that have different purposes, whether it's to open, clear, activate, and how it's tuned, or what it's expressing will do different things. But I'm sure you've probably seen to some extent, or I don't know to what extent, but you've seen light code or light language drawn from different systems. It has a very different appearance. Some will look very geometric, and maybe be in strings vertically. There's very fluid, where it looks really flowy. Different language that has a different, from a different place with a different function, completely different frequency. And if someone were to speak, it would sound completely different. There's so many different sounds of the light language, which is also comes through, hand movements. There's hand movements that have different code that do different things, if you want to say it, in a simple way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then you describe yourself as a bridge and anchor for advanced tech. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, I perceive all of us are that in different ways, that we are, coded in different ways. So we have the potential in these physical bodies to bridge from the celestial realms into Earth, through Earth, different codes, light, a functionality, purpose, so that when known, as known, and how you're tuned in the way that I perceive my vessel is being tuned certain ways to do certain things, to bridge very specific frequencies, to transmit certain codes, to transform, to open, to calibrate, to activate. And depending on what the moment is, will determine how it is tuned, or how to tune it, to anchor, to bridge as off-planet encoded technology through the vessel, which is part of the toolkit that we came with. I mean, we could do those things from space without a body, but it has a different function or different process, a different intensity when we have this actual physical vessel to be able to transmit, receive, anchor, clear, use our hands consciously, our voice as a tuning tool, a transformation tool, as a transmitter, a receiver. I mean, all of our pores are receiving at all moments. Everything is a chakra, a vortex, and an opening. It's like, how are we perceiving this massive tool, with these complex cells and neurons and tissues and brain and, beyond, right, of possibility. But when we're aware that we all are that, we're all off-planet technology, we're all from somewhere, or different souls spark from different systems we've been to and through. So we all have different coding that we can be more consciously doing that with. If we're walking along the earth, if we're on a walk, how we're co-creating, how we're transforming, how we're bridging, etc.
I like that. And then how do you work with Earth's grids, ley lines, and planetary magnetics in your sessions, would you say?
What was the last part?
Like, how do you work with Earth's grids, ley lines, and planetary magnetics in your sessions?
Oh, in my sessions. Well, I mean, I walk very frequently outside. I spend a lot of time outside, but when I'm walking, very, very specifically spending time outside, I'm very precisely tuning and toning with song, sound, tone, and code, and also utilizing my hands to transform energy, or to clear, to anchor certain things, depending on what the ley line is requesting, what the energies are requesting, who's there, meaning what kind of energies reside there. There's so many variations, guardian beings, other beings, inner earth realms, and depending on where specifically I am, it's not always known until I arrive there what it's about, what it might be about. So usually it's dependent on what's arising at that moment. I don't necessarily do that in a session. The sessions are for like individuals. If I'm working one-on-one with somebody or with a group, that's more energetic based or on their mission, or their multidimensional nature, what they're working on and through. So it's a little bit different that way.
Yeah. And do you think ancient civilizations like Atlantis or Lemuria used similar technologies?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of these reminders, you could say reminders, but it's much more than that, of course. But these reminders right now, when we're seeing these things or hearing these tones and these activating keys and codes, is that we've already done this before, with different structures or the information that resides within crystals and rocks, and all of the imprintations and the energy in the fields in these different places, these ancient sites or inner earth sites. All the information is right there to remind us that we can actually do that again. Like we've done this before. Many of us that are here right now, or those that are staying to transform into the next moment, and into the return, have these remembrances, whether it's, entirely, totally, but have been, had this walk before. In a way, you could say that we're remembering like how to do that.
Yeah. And then as far as like your sessions and offerings go, like what can someone expect with a one-on-one frequency session with you?
Well, what I do is I work with all of the layers multidimensionally all at once with someone. So depending on what is coming forth with the session, I know many times the mind can think one thing of what might be wanted to be worked on, but the soul is what's expressing the readiness to allow, coordinating to what the mission is, known or unknown. So we're working on all of the layers, energetically, physically, astrally, DNA, cellularly, past, you want to say past life, parallel life, etc., all at once through sound, tone, energy, and light. So there's a series of, sounding, toning, light language, code, swift movements and motions to, open, clear, transform energy. The person would be laying down, whether in person or remotely. There's no physical touch needed. It's purely relaxation, allowing, receiving, and whatever needs to unfold for their highest good will be so. But it's through all of the layers at once.
And you have also meditation downloads that are kind of designed to accelerate spiritual growth. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, they're all frequency downloads. So there's different multidimensionality to each one, and they'll have descriptions with the intentions, the energy, and there'll be different layers of toning, sound, code, light language, geometries, geometric templates. And they're all layered. I don't use any actual instruments other than my voice, but I will layer my own voice with different frequencies over each other. So it amplifies each part and component of the function of the meditation. So there's shorter ones on the YouTube channel. There's longer ones people can download, and albums. I call them albums, but they're series where there's like 9 or 10 one-hour sessions, and then they can use on, for meditation, grounding, centering, clearing, activation, or any myriad in between, depending on how they're intuitively guided to.
Yeah. And then what would you say the most profound transformation you witnessed in someone you worked with would be? Like an example.
Well, many times is that they've decided to discard old lives, I guess you could say that way, where they come to a pivot point, a profound pivot point in their life or inner knowing of something huge, to be different. And I've watched many people literally discard lives, in the way that they weren't serving, and there's ways to do that. Gratefully, I've witnessed where people have done that in the most graceful, beautiful way, where they've literally transitioned from, like, they've walked out of one reality and into a whole brand new one. Like, they're just walking into a brand new luminous doorway that's in the direction of what they came for.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what I was going to ask you, as far as like collective awakening and disclosure, what do you see happening right now on Earth in terms of ascension and DNA upgrades? Or do you see that happening on Earth?
Well, I see it hugely. I feel it hugely, especially with the parallel of the light codes and the frequencies we're receiving. This massive alchemical potentiality for DNA upgrade, cellular upgrade, physical upgrade, and all the layers in between by and through the light that we're receiving, even, and the support that's here, whether we know it or not, benevolent forces and all these different, alliances, you want to say it that way, of these assistance ships that we're receiving through anchoring, illuminating codes, and on all fronts, that we have this massive potentiality to swiftly alchemize and embody as soon as we're able and choosing to do so. Like, it's no longer this complex process. We could look at, like, 3 years ago seems ancient now, of these processes people would think they need to go through to evolve, and it's really that swiftly instantaneous to realign and align with one's mission, as we're choosing to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And then I was going to ask you, how can people tell if they're receiving light codes or frequency activations naturally? Like, would it be like differences in like the way they feel or the way they act, or like would there be like what we call ascension symptoms even?
Well, it could be all of those things, really. I mean, it would depend on the person, moment to moment. But yeah, they could feel it, they could sense it. I mean, some people see it, like physically see, the geometries, the codes, or they'll hear, higher pitched tones or something like that. Depending on how in tune or sensitive they are, or in tune and sensitive to their own body too. It depends what they're noticing. But even if one isn't necessarily seeing, like where they're seeing it, that they're receiving it, they still are. It's just at what level or what implementation is it taking place might hi Christy might come to be known, might come to be known as and when it's ready to know. It's like those things, we have so many layers in our field, but it comes to be known when we're ready to implement it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is amazing. Um, and going back to full disclosure now, like since you were a vendor at Full Disclosure Now, do you have any like other major takeaways from the conference? And would you do it again next year?
Yeah, it was a really great experience. What I had initially asked actually was to present, and there wasn't, necessarily space for presentation. So that would definitely be something I'm interested in next year, is to present kind of in a way where we're discussing about a topic and then offer a sound activation, sound tone activation or immersion, something of that sort for the people in the audience. I would love to do that. But a lot of takeaways, a lot of connections made, lots of networking. Was beautiful to meet everybody. And then as we do that too, I feel like we become stronger together, where we can consistently learn and co-create on other projects or get inspired for other projects, which is really important as we're all coming together physically in these different places.
Yeah, I agree. This was amazing. I really appreciate you coming on today. I'm glad we finally did it. I know we had talked in the conference about doing it, and we didn't get a chance to. It's weird, like like a lot of people asked me. They said, "Did I get a lot of side interviews from the conference?" It's more like I got interviews to set up for after the conference than like side interviews at the conference, because like maybe you can attest to this. I don't know. Like last year was different for me. Like last year I was able to get more like side interviews, but this year it seemed like everybody was kind of just like doing their own thing, and it was hard to get everybody. It was hard to grab someone and like pull them aside and do an interview, because like I don't know, it just seemed like everybody was kind of doing their own thing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of action, and there was a lot of different energies like flowing through, and at least like when you and I were talking about doing an interview, it didn't seem like there was a pause button space for like there wasn't a pause button space for that, because there was so much like movement, there was so much happening.
Did you get a chance to go to the beach and everything?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was great. The beach is so pretty. The sand is so white, and the energy with the dolphin energy was so amazing. I loved it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I forgot to tell the audience this. So guys, this was amazing. So the one day me and Gina went to the beach, I think it was the last day we were there. And I had my feet in the water up to my knees. And I was like just scanning. I even saw this, and I had sunglasses on. I saw something moving in the water, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, that's a shark or a dolphin. And I used to be a surfer, so it's easier for me to pick that stuff out. Like, but it definitely was a dolphin, because then it started like dipping up and out of the water, you know what I mean? And I think Gina got it on her phone. It was usually they travel in packs, but like this one was by itself, but it was still pretty amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's always amazing to see the dolphins. Feels like seeing old friends. They're so powerful. I love it.
Yeah, they're like humans in a way, right? They're like very intelligent, it seems like, or something.
Well, and that's what I really like feel so magnetized to with the dolphin is their sonic like frequencies are very high, high pitched tone, and very like even low pitch, you want to say, with the tone is that they're forever undulating through the water. So the communication and the energy is so powerful. I can feel them when they're even remotely coming close, because they're so high frequency of beings. They're so intelligent. There's so much we can learn from tuning into their energy through the waters.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I agree. Well, this was amazing. Thank you. And let me ask you this before we go. Is there anything else you wanted to tell the audience before, anything else you wanted to cover that I forgot to ask you about?
Well, I do have 6 different activating books that I would like to mention, because they help people discover their own light language or activate, because we all have that potentiality to activate our telepathic nature, which is innate, like inner ancient awareness, to be telepathic. And we're needing to do that now, and come back online, if you want to say it that way, of telepathic nature, our soul language. And these assistant tools with the books have visual code, there's geometries, there's geometric templates. And what happens with these visual aids with frequency layers, like multifaceted frequency layers, is that they bypass the mind needing to understand, like, what is this geometry I'm looking at? And can go straight to like soul to receive whatever it is. There was a couple of experiences even at the conference where people came up to, go, oh, I wonder what this book is. They opened it up, they saw an image, and literally we were like, oh my God, I drew the same style recently, and they had this like activating moment with the code. So we just never know what can assist us in these processes of evolution. So I feel to share about those, because they're all very vast, very tools, along with other tools we have available to us.
I was going to say, did you get a chance to connect with? I know you mentioned Christy said hi in the chat, but did you get a chance to connect with Christy, because she does her own like drawing of like light language in a way? I don't know if she showed you.
Yeah. Her codes are very familiar, and there's a lot of different codes I've seen that she's brought through that are very, very familiar. We got to meet, and we got to meet on the dance floor too, which is really fun. But yeah, that was really fun with the dance floor. But yeah, her codes are very familiar. It's just like meeting an old family member when we get to a reunion like this. So definitely for sure.
Did you enjoy the dance party then? I thought it was fun. I was too embarrassed to dance because like I don't know. It's not that I'm a good dancer. I know, but like I smoked weed and I was like paranoid because I smoked weed, and then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I think they're filming this because I know I was filming it at one point, but my video didn't come out that great. But then like like I think Brian was film. I don't know. So I just didn't. I didn't dance, but like it seemed like everybody was having a blast. It seemed like everybody loved it.
Yeah, it's so fun. I really enjoy dancing a lot, so I had a great time. And even when you feel like if you feel the frequency, the energy of the music and the movement, even if you don't dance, you're still like, you're still in like the harmonic of the excitement because everybody was having a great time in their own way, in their own unique way. So I thought it was really great.
Yeah, I know Brian said next year he might want to have it in Sedona, but I'm hoping he kind of sticks with I don't know because I've been there. I went there 2 years in a row now. You know what I mean? Like I've been at the conference 2 years in a row, and I've been lucky to go 2 years in a row. And like it's kind of become a thing. It's become like our group's thing to go to the Serata and go to the Full Disclosure Now conference at the Serata in St. Pete's Beach. I mean, I'll be happy with whatever he does. I just want to be a part of it. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to help out and stuff. But like so whatever he decides, I'll be happy. So if he sees this, but I think this too. I think they should have more than one event a year. I mean, I know it's hard because it costs a lot of money, right? It's like it's expensive to throw these conferences, but like all these people know each other now. You know what I mean? Like this group all knows each other, and it's like these people are probably going to want to meet up more than once a year. It's again, it's like that's where the money comes in, and it's I don't know. What do you have an opinion on that?
Well, that one of the amazing things that comes too, I mean, alongside an infinite amount of things from these conferences, that when people are sharing perspectives or things they've learned, it expands the whole, not just because we're coming together with different ideas, but there's different ways to look at those things that we've learned. And like I'm constantly getting my mind blown when I see a different perspective of something that connects a whole nother node and a whole nother dot, opens, 500 other potential doorways of higher alignment. So I think the more that we weave together with say conferences, events, ideas, learnings, we're all evolving in some type of way, or we're coming together in different networks, where it's bringing different people together that have been working on different things, finding out who's where, and then expanding in different, I say sectors, but in different specialties, and then it's coming into fruition faster, right?
Yeah. We had one more question from the audience. I know you already explained this at the beginning, but Sonia Galactic, you can see she's tattooed up as well. She wants to know, can you tell us a little bit more about your tattoos? Like maybe something, yeah.
Well, what they are, I mean, whether you can perceive it from a distance or not, it's layers of code, layers of geometry, layers of lines, dots, some related to, cosmology, you could say it that way. But a lot of them are actually codes that I've written. So they're layers and lines of lines and lines and lines of code. And then there's layers over those layers of other code. So it's like amplifying the purpose, the instructions or whatever it's doing. And then however they're, what do you want to say, when they're, over time, when the ink's shift and change to some degree, then they're forming their own patterns. So they're almost like making their own new code in a way, you know, like it's like it's a layer and it's a layer, but then there's spaces in between that are making a whole different geometry, which is almost like a whole nother type of mapping, in a way. So I just look at it like layers of evolution, but mostly it's code.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I really think it's beautiful. When I saw you in person, like I couldn't believe it. I was like, you know, like it was really amazing to see. You know, it's like yeah, I think it's beautiful, honestly. Like, you know, like it's really awesome. Well, I mean, thank you so much for coming on today. And do you want to promote your books and like and how people can book a session with you? And yeah, this was really fun.
Yeah, this was really fun. I'm so glad you had me on. Thank you. Well, if you go to the website, it actually has everything on it. So I don't know if you're going to put that maybe in the like a drop link in the video, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'll put that in the video too. But what's the website? I'll put it in the chat right now too.
It's inner INNER. Like if you look at my screen, it's INNER Galactic energyhealing.com. And through that main website, you can find everything else. You can find how to book a session, which you could do one-on-one, or you could book multiple sessions. There's also space and energy clearing if somebody wanted to clear their space. Yep, that's right. And then, you know, clear their space and have a session. There's packages that way, or other packages, you know, available that way. There's also on the website, the YouTube link for the YouTube channel where all the frequency downloads are, frequency meditations. It has all of the books listed on there, calendar page of any upcoming events, anything special that I'm doing for the month. There's a podcast a podcast link, a blog link, as well as a contact. So if somebody has questions, they can go through the contact form, ask questions. That's the YouTube channel there. And through also the YouTube channel or the website, you can download 1-hour meditations. So if you go to the shop page, it says SHOP. On the website, it has all the downloads. So it'll have the meditation downloads, there's art downloads, and the books also on the book page show the Amazon author page, which will show all 6 books. You can get an Amazon Kindle or paperback. They're all available either way.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This was amazing. And yeah, just and the only announcement for me, guys, is that I'll be live again at 4 p.m. Eastern, so in an hour. And I have Phil Barrow and Deb and Rick Purcell coming on. They're going to do live healings and readings for you guys. So that'll be in about an hour's time. And then I'm live again tonight too. You know, but I'll have that linked on later. And yeah, this was amazing, Syren. Thank you so much again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to chatting with you again.
You too. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you guys in